and Glaze podcast, man. Today we're going to be talking about Larry Warford. Uh, Larry Warford, Pro Bowl left guard, Pro Bowl interior offensive lineman,
Right guard.
right guard, right, left, right. I mean, shit. Fuck
Maybe
it.
two hands up to see which one's left.
Yeah.
There you
Whatever, bro. Yeah, so he got released from the Saints, and now there's a few teams like rubbing the Birdman hands, like, should we jump on that? And me personally, well, Josh, man, I mean, you're a Saints fan, one of the biggest Saints fan I know. So, man, talk about Larry Warford, man. What you think about Warford, man?
go. Yeah, he had a kind of a strange run. He 3 years to making the Pro Bowl 3 years in a row, and the first 2 years were pretty good. Um, Real strong run blocker, pass blocker, not the greatest, but I think when the Saints signed him 3 years ago, they assumed that there was kind of room for improvement, and that never really happened. So they had to really help him, which kind of put Andres Pete out on the edge sometimes. I think really Larry Warford at his best is really damn good, but he just hasn't been that all last year. I think Sean was just done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his big part of the thing with the Saints is why their guards are so important over the years. Whether it's all the way back to Super Bowl year where they had Jari Evans and Carl Nix, who were probably the nastiest two guards I've ever seen play once. I know y'all are gonna comment and say, "Oh, forget about this guy, whatever." But yeah, those guys were nasty. And part of the thing, this scheme is so important offensively and how it functions as an offensive line is that the guards block a lot one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they paid so much money to Pete. He's not necessarily great at that consistently, but 2 years ago he was really good and was really nasty and was able to really grind people down. And was drafted as left tackle, so there's skill there in terms of pass blocking. He's
Yeah.
not a complete big sloppy in the middle or whatever. The thing with Warford, he always struggled with that one-on-one pass blocking he needed. So, and it finally got to this past year, he came to camp and allegedly he was not in great shape. So Sean kind of held on to that all year, hoping that he'd get in better shape. And when he didn't, and then he got hurt and had to play hurt and really just didn't play well this year. He got a decent rate from PFF, but man, offensive line grades on PFF are like shit. Or like a box of chocolates. You never know which one you're gonna get.
Right.
So it's kind of all over the place. The Saints view offensive line. I trust their grades on offensive linemen a lot more than any other team, just based on how good their coach has been, Dan Rochar, over the years. And also I trust their ability to project guys, and they really haven't missed too much recently on offensive linemen. And they've kind of hit home runs pretty much. I mean, with Teron Armstead, they drafted him third round. And he's been a dude when he's healthy. And then Ryan Ramczyk is already all pro in his like second or third year. And McCoy last year traded up. They targeted him. He's been great. And now they go for Ruiz. So now they have the second fastest O-line now in the NFL, which we can talk about later. But it projects pretty well in terms of performance. Warford, he'll start in good. He could start for probably half the league right now still,
Mm-hmm.
but he's just not. He was exposed so badly. Him and Pete were both exposed so badly against the Minnesota game that I think it really soured Sean on him. And I think this was always the plan, was to either go after someone in free agency, and when the free agents kind of priced out of the range of what they wanted to spend, whether it was a Tooney getting the franchise tag or it was Glasgow getting a little too much from what they thought, I think they were ready to move on, and I think they kind of targeted Ruiz as a guy that if he was there in the first, that he would be a really good addition and kind of a similar impact as a Ryan Ramczyk has in the late first.
Yeah, man. And you talked about the Saints having the fastest, well, the second fastest offensive line in the league, man. Yeah, man. I mean, that's pretty cool. So that made me wonder though, like who do you think is the fastest offensive line in the league? Who would you say?
I would guess it was maybe the Eagles
Yeah, true, true.
because Lane Johnson's pretty fast, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brandon Brooks, and well,
And
whoever else they have.
Kelsey's pretty damn fast too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I forgot about Kelsey. I couldn't remember
yeah,
if he was still there or not.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I have no idea who's the fastest. But it's funny. 40 time is one of the biggest indicators for offensive linemen. You wouldn't think of it, but it kind of it shows like explosion and all that. So
yeah,
you have offensive linemen that run really well, and they have the other indicators. The arm length is the other indicator.
yeah.
It really,
Well, I mean, getting into the second level, man, shit. That's some,
yeah.
that's literally some next level shit.
I know, and I think partially why Sean decided to pull the cord now and not wait until training camp with Larry Warford was that it's just so tantalizing how good the Saints are when they have a healthy offensive line that's playing together. And I think there was just too many bumps in the road with Warford.
Yeah, yeah,
And I just think it was time to move. And there's 1 year left, so there's not going to be a huge cap hit. They save about $8 million, I believe, by cutting him, which who knows where that goes. Maybe they maybe they put their money together and they give Clowney an offer. I mean, that'd be kind of wild.
that'd be hilarious, bro.
Oh, man, that would be. Put
Yeah,
him, Marcus Davenport, and Cam Jordan together. Good Lord.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
children. But anyway, I digress. But
Yeah,
what are your
so
thoughts? How would you like him on the Texans? Is what I'm going to
I
come next.
mean, well, like straight up, I mean, I think that he's a guy that we should sign just simply because, I mean, of how many hits Watson takes. I mean, now whether or not like a lot of them might be his fault for like holding on to the ball. A lot of them might be, he does like to run a lot, and I mean, he's not a bitch, so he likes, he doesn't. Sometimes he doesn't slide, as he said in his words. I'm built for it, but you know, nobody's built for it. Anyway,
Not at that size.
so I think like, man, personally, I think that we should get him because he's 29. Uh, he could probably play a couple more years, and I mean, if you don't necessarily envision him as a starter, it's definitely great to have depth, and it would increase the competition level among the offensive line. In our
He's not going to a team that he's not going to start for.
yeah, yeah, I know, but
So, yeah, I know.
there's
Heard that
motherfuckers that
there's bullshit. Yeah, there's bullshit coming out that the Tech he'd be
yeah.
good depth for the Texans,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. But we know that I feel like he would pretty much win the starting job. But I think that we just any chance you can when you only have 3 and 4 first round picks per draft, 3, 4, 5 per first round picks per draft. You don't have a first round pick. We haven't had a first round pick like we said in the other video for a minute. You know what I mean? You have to take every possible way you can outside of the draft to improve your team. You have to do that. And I think that we have to do this. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Just simply because there's no other really like, there's no great cornerbacks on free agency right now. There's no, what I mean? There's, what I mean? But
you
like,
can't. Yeah, even more now than before. You can't build a team through free agency. That just doesn't happen.
yeah, yeah.
Um, One cautionary tale that might keep the Texans from going after him is how Sinio Clemente has ended up with him because he's
Mm-hmm.
another Saints offensive lineman. Maybe they view him the same. I don't know. It would be kind of stupid to view them the same thing because Sinio was a swing offensive lineman for us that kind of just was our sixth lineman, could kind of play everywhere. But because they haven't had great experience with him coming in and starting. I mean, he's okay, but he's just not. He's not. I mean, he kind of is what he was. He is what he is, but I assume they thought they were getting more from him. Um,
Yeah,
I would try and I would give Warford a couple years. Either you go for the short term deal, or you go longer and kind of a lower number, just to kind of lock him in. It's all about what your projection is of him going
yeah,
forward.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, man, I think that personally, I think it would be a good move, just because I mean, like I said, like you kind of have to, you know, what I mean, like you wanna. At this point, we're in win now mode. We have been in forever, you know, whether or not people like it or not, you know, and any 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 chance you have, I feel like you know, offensive line is one of the most critical things. So yeah, man, I would say go get them. But yeah, man. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you have anything else you want
some of the teams that I've heard Houston linked him.
to?
I've
Mm-hmm.
also heard the Ravens. I think Mark Ingram was kind of on Twitter trying to get him to come to the Ravens, which would kind of be nasty to replace Yonda with him. I mean, that's not. I mean, it's obviously a drop off because Yonda is like the best damn guard in the league or whatever. But it would definitely lessen the blow on that run game. And I think that's some of the. It's completely off topic, but something to pay attention to how they replace Yonda over in Baltimore.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he could do so many things for you. But anyway, yeah, it's gonna. I was kind of surprised by the move because I thought the way Sean talked about Warford and him needing to win his job back or whatever, or compete at a high level. He doesn't do that a lot with players, but usually if he says that, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be someone he cuts like a few days later. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
he was just hedging his bets and seeing if he could trade Warford, and maybe there just were no takers in the trade market because they
Mm-hmm.
kind of knew that the Saints were gonna most likely cut him. But yeah, and they don't want to take on that salary, which I kind of understand.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a great fit for Houston. A lot of teams would be great fit for, especially if he wants to come in and shit. If he wants to come in and be a backup, that would be an amazing fit. But I don't see that. Maybe he comes in as a backup for 1 year and kind of tries to improve and then comes back out on the market. But because linemen's careers are kind of shorter these days, especially one that's coming off an injury like he is, I don't know if I take that gamble of getting out of a starter spot because there's so few in the league for guards.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, another team too, man. I had seen is the Bears. You know, what I mean, the Bears were talking about it. But yeah,
And
man.
that would make sense because they got that. Their fucking GM is ex Saint Ryan Pace, who's not really the uh, hottest dude right now with all the shit he's been doing. He's kind of backtracked. He had a really good start to his tenure there, but hey,
Yeah.
man,
Well,
dude,
man.
Warford wouldn't be a bad signing for them as long as
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
not money.
yeah. I mean, shit. You know, we'll see what happens, man. Yeah. So I think you good on that, man. You think you got everything else?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting what his numbers come out as in terms of a contract because you could see him similarly going the path of, hey, I made 3 Pro Bowls in a row, dude. Like I'm a bad man, and then teams put on the tape and are like, yeah, you were good, but like when you were good, you were really good, but when you weren't, not a great consistency there, and we kind of had to hide you. You weren't a great ISO blocker as an interior lineman.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I don't know if a lot of teams use guards as ISO blockers. So maybe he would have a big resurgence if he went somewhere that was kind of more of a zone scheme, and less of a ISO blocker in the middle, and you know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I'm interested to see. He's a real good dude, and he's real smart, really good, really into his craft. I just think it's a matter of him taking care of his body and seeing if he can do that. And that's going to be even harder with the whole Corona thing and all the stress, and it's then not really being access to a gym and all that shit, especially with a big man, because he's a big dude, man. He's one of those dudes that
He's
it's
fucking huge.
Sean terms it as he's got ass and mass. So he's definitely got his ass and mass together. He just needs to probably sculpt it down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. So
Maybe we should rename the podcast Ass and Mass. You think? That'd be,
no, no.
just talk about offensive linemen all day.
No. You could I mean shit, maybe if you made me the highest paid motherfucker in America, yeah. But yeah, man. All right, y'all. So what do y'all think, man? Saints fans, how do you feel about Larry Warford? I know a lot more Saints fans were more upset at Pete than him. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it was not. We can talk about. I'll say that real quick. That going into this offseason, everyone thought Warford was probably the safe one, and that Pete was probably gone. But the longer that Pete was out there, and you started hearing whispers that, oh, maybe they're not happy with Warford, and we're just kind of holding pat, right? Holding, just seeing what happens, and then finally they dropped that big contract on Pete, it's a lot of money, but it's really a 3-year deal, which
Mm-hmm.
doesn't kill them. The Saints are one of the best teams, and I'm not just blowing smoke, but they're one of the best teams at maneuvering the cap and kind of setting it up so that they have optimal flexibility. And
Yeah,
this is a
yeah.
lot after they really turned the corner and really got better at this ever since that fucking Jerry'sburg contract that we did, and then that Brandon Browner contract. Those were hideous, and now they're no longer going to screw themselves with some of these deals. They have numbers and they go in and that's it. And but yeah, Pete was his issue is he plays really well, and then he has these games where he looks like he doesn't know what the fuck a football is. So that's kind of the issue. And he was never great at the beginning. At his first time as a Saint, he came to training camp and he was just completely out of shape, and it was rough, man. I was there. It was up in West Virginia, and my guy, ooh, he was struggling. He was having too much fun at that Stanford those Stanford frat parties. I guess I don't know.
I mean, shit. Speaking of a big ass dude, bro, shit. He's
Oh
naturally
yeah, he's
big.
huge, man. It's amazing that Drew Brees can see over him because he's tall as hell.
He's like 6'8", huh?
He's not that tall. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6", maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe short. I don't know, but he's long. I mean, he's built like a tackle, which is surprising that no other team kind of put money at him to see if he could play tackle for them.
Yeah, yeah. So man, shit. I mean,
Yeah, we
yeah.
get on a little I'm just Pete tangent there, but I think this is a good
It's
landing
on.
spot.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, man. So, Texans fans, Saints fans, how y'all feeling? I know, Saints, man. You lost Warford, but you have Pete, and you got two really good young offensive linemen, man. So, what are y'all thinking, man? Like, are y'all upset at this? Do y'all think y'all should have dropped Pete instead? Texans fans, like, what are y'all thinking, man? Do y'all think this is something that we should jump at? Let us know in the comments, man. Like and sub and share, and let us know what you're thinking, man. All right, y'all. So I'm Leo Ray's Rayon.
I'm Josh Glazer.
All right, so this is the Rays and Glaze podcast. Like, sub, and share, like I said before, and peace out.
All right, y'all take care.
Yep.